You're listening to episode 192, Teresa's Story, a daughter with Spina Bifida and Tethered cord. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Child Life on Call. This podcast is a safe place for parents to share their stories about what it's like to have a child that has a medical experience, diagnosis, disease, and or everything in between. We know there's power in sharing stories, and that power multiplies when you can listen to other parents who have walked a similar path to yours. Giving and getting advice is great, but hearing how another parent navigates the complexities and nuances of healthcare is even better. As a child life specialist, my role is to support, validate, and provide emotionally safe spaces for kids and their families, and I am so honored to be on this journey with you. In addition to parent stories, we sprinkle in some expert episodes every now and again that have content for both parents and professionals in the field of healthcare, all with the mission to empower parents to be confident advocates and partners with the care team during healthcare experiences. We're so glad you're here. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Child Life on Call. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Katie Taylor. I am a certified child life specialist, and today is October again. And so we are going to bring to you another Repost episode of Teresa's Story, which initially aired back in 2021. And Teresa was actually one of the first Latina moms that we had on the podcast. She was the mom of a teenager, and her teenager was born with spina bifida and tethered cord. And October is Spina Bifida Awareness Month. So we couldn't think of a better time to replay and re-listen to her story. Some of the things that stood out from my memory of talking to Teresa before I listened to it again was the power of a one-on-one empathetic doctor who really wanted to empower Teresa as the parent. And that was a game changer for her. And it doesn't take much. It just kind of takes that one-on-one time and empathy for her to really feel supported and like a game changer for her daughter. The other thing I took away is that she created a company in name of her daughter. It's called Hidden Underwear. And basically what it is, she saw a problem. She saw a gap. Y'all know I love a gap. I love filling gaps. And Teresa and her daughter are full gap fillers. So she created what she wasn't able to find. And that's hidden underwear that her daughter was able to wear to school so that she can act normally with her peers. And anyway, they're just incredible. And I'm so honored to share with you again a repost of Teresa's story, and so grateful that you're here listening. The more we listen to parents, the more we learn internally how to advocate for ourselves and for our children, and to have a more collaborative environment when we take our kids into healthcare.
My name is Teresa Crespo, and I live in Miami right now, but I was born in LA and was most of my life I lived in Colombia, South America, because my dad is from there. And I've been here in Miami for the last 20 years. I married my husband. He's American, Cuban descendant. And he has two boys from his first marriage. One is already married, 26 years old. His name is Eric. Kevin, which is 22, and he's studying in PhD. And then Isabella, the princess of the house, which now she is a teenager. She's 14 years old.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So she's got big brothers to take care of her now, huh?
Yeah, that actually helped out a lot at the beginning because we had them every other day in the house. So when we were waiting for them, we were also excited. We're like, okay, you can help us. You take care of your daughter while we do some cooking or we do some washing. So there's a huge age difference. So it did help us. So we were lucky, very blessed to have them.
Oh. Well, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about when you found out that something was different with Isabella?
Well, actually, in our case, it was when she was born. When I went to the doctor checkup, which is toward the end, it was the 37th week. The doctor said, you know what, your pressure is a little bit too high. Why don't you go to the hospital and they can do a thorough checkup? And I was told that the liquid of the amnio was kind of low, so we would have to induce or do a cesarean. So They started induced, but of course, like I told the doctor, I don't think my daughter's ready to go out. You need to go in and take her. So once she was born, that's when they saw right away. They said, "Oops, there's a lump on her on the backside." And at the moment, I didn't know what that meant because nothing was showing when we did all the sonograms and all the checkups with the baby. So that was kind of the moment that, okay, there's something wrong. We're going to have to check on her to see what she has.
You know, when you are talking about that, it's like, you know, that's the reason I feel like we have all these prenatal appointments, right? It's like to see how baby's doing, how's the progress. And
correct.
Probably the last thing in your mind is that she would be born, you know, with this thing on her back. And how was it right after she was born? Were you able to connect with her right away, or did she have to go to the NICU?
Actually, they took her right away, and I remember just kind of thinking what's going on because everybody was rushing around her, and the doctor told me, just focus on us. You know, we need to finish with the cesarean. And when I went to the room, I didn't see her, and it didn't dawn on me until, let's say she was born around 8:30, and until 3 o'clock, I haven't seen her. But I was so distracted of people visiting, like family, relatives. And then I got to a point like I haven't seen my daughter, and that's when my husband came in and with the doctor and said, well, we did some preliminary tests, and we're still we don't know yet, but it may be something related to Spina Bifida. At the moment, I didn't know what Spina Bifida was. And the first thing they told us, do not Google it. Of course, you Google it. But that was very
the number one rule.
Yeah. Yes, do not Google. But
yes.
I didn't know the severity. And I remember being kind of shocked in my mind, like, I don't know what's the problem, because the doctor even said, the good thing she's moving her legs. So I was like, what do you mean by, moving the legs?
Right.
So it was a lot of unknown. And right away, they said, we need to transfer her to Miami Children's Hospital. And I remember thinking, who do you think you are to take my daughter out of me? So now in hindsight, I know that was the best thing to do. So the following day, let her stay the night with us. And the following day, they took her to Miami Children's. And my husband kind of went there with her while I had a couple of days I had to stay because I had the cesarean. So the beginning was a lot of unknowns, of course, and a lot of crying, trying to figure out what's going on, why are they taking her, what does she have? And a lot of the response were, we're doing tests. So that was kind of the beginning wake up there.
Right. It's just so crazy to think about. It's like your instinct was, you can't take my baby from me. And I think all moms have that instinct when baby is born, and, you're just gushed with emotions and hormones and all that stuff. And then you have to be separated. And it sounds like you did have family at the hospital at that time to kind of distract you and support you while your husband went to be with Bella.
Yes, my mom was there, and a lot of the family relatives. But at that point, when she was taken to Miami Children's, my focus was, okay, I need to, get better so I can go and see her. So I had to do the walks, and it was kind of shocked the first time I saw her in NICU because they have all these tubes with her connected, and they had one nurse dedicated to her. And that's when kind of hit me, okay, this is really something serious or something wrong is going on, with her. So for me, seeing her the first time in the NICU was kind of shocked, and I just went crying. I couldn't even talk to her. I was just looking at her and hearing all these little, buttons and beep beeps and this and that. So yeah, it was very, as much as I had the family, it was just very shocking seeing her in the NICU.
Definitely. And so what did they tell you? I guess they said they were running tests, and did they mention, I guess they said spina bifida at the beginning, and how did they give you a conclusive answer about what they were going to do and what her diagnosis was?
One thing was, and I don't know if that happens to other parents, or I think does happen to in these situations, is it goes through so many doctors. So they had a specialist, which is the the neurologist. Then I have to wait for all the different specialists to look at her, the one with the bones, because technically she had something in her hip. So it was a lot of waiting. Was, okay, you have to wait now for a consult from this department, a consult from the urologist. But there was a time where I was kind of frustrated. I'm like, I need somebody to give me an answer. Like, I was like kind of following up with one doctor and the other doctor. And so one of them, I don't know how it ended up, my dad started asking questions, because we were only two people at the same time visiting her. And he ended up being Colombian, and he knew my family back in the day. And he actually explained to me, he said, listen, I know you're frustrated. I know you want to take her home, but this is the best thing that can happen now, because right now the best of the best are looking at her. And by the time you leave, you're going to have a definite answer, and you're already going to have appointments and everything scheduled before you leave. And it turns out that made sense. He says, if you leave right now to get appointments and figure, it's going to be very hard. So it worked out, and that he kind of handheld and explained to me a little bit about all the process. And then by the end, the 5 days, then I was told, okay, she has her spine cord is attached. She has Spina Bifida, and we need to do a surgery, because depending on her growth, that's going to impede her growth. So then they say the best way to do this first surgery, or not the first, at that time I thought it was the only one. The surgery, it will be at 3 months old when her skin is strong enough for the surgery. So that's pretty much what they told me by the 5th day.
You know, you bring up such a good point about getting information from so many different doctors that are specialists in their own area. So like the ortho doctor is very concerned with bones, and then the neurologist is very concerned with the spinal cord. The neonatologist is looking at the whole picture. So having that one person, and it sounds pretty miraculous that it happened to be someone that was connected with your family, to be able to explain to you, like, top to bottom, this is the big picture. Like that's what I think really can help parents at that time, is just one medical professional sitting down and saying, here's the whole picture, and this is how we can help. This is what we need to do. This is the plan.
Yes, and that definitely makes a difference, to have somebody else, like you say, to kind of give us the whole, and I call that like a flow chart. Okay, let me give you the visual here. This is what's going to happen, and this is why we have. And even today, every time I go to the doctors, or I feel that way, that I have to go and talk to 4 different specialties. And I wish I can, my ideal situation would be, let me take a folder, let go in a conference room, let me have everybody from every specialty, and we can talk about Isabella's case. Because it is, even up to date, that I have to talk to one and the other and the other. So it does help, going back to what you were saying, have somebody independent or somebody in the medical field that can help the parents and say, okay, I know this is what you're going through, but ultimately this is the goal, or this is what you're going to be comfortable with once you know all the process.
Totally. It's like a family care conference can happen for children that are in the hospital because they have all their specialists there. But when you're outpatient and you've got 4 different doctors at 4 different offices, it's really hard to find that person that can explain everything to you. So,
True.
You know, you're so well spoken about Spina Bifida now, but would you explain it to us, or to people who don't understand what it is, what exactly Spina Bifida is?
Well, as one of her doctors explained to me, Spina Bifida is any when something wrong with the spine. I asked him, can you explain it in basic English? And he said, Spina Bifida is anything that has gone wrong with the spine. But in the case of Spina Bifida, there's 3 different type of Spina Bifida, and I cannot pronounce the names, but there's the one that is really extreme, where actually the spine is affected or is exposed at the time they're born, that actually the connection to some body parts are not well, and that can affect to the point of being in a wheelchair. And also in your brain, the fluid of the spine, of the head, also affects, I don't know the name exactly, but I know that affects also to your brain. And then the other 2 are not as severe, but they do have the complex. So it's about the spine cord. If inside the spine or it's outside or it's attached. That's all what it regards to spina bifida in this case.
Okay, gotcha. And so talk to us about what Bella's kind of prognosis was like and what she has been dealing with over the past 11 years.
Yes. Well, she had the surgery, which in the moment what I understood, okay, we're detaching the spine cord and she can go home and she's fine. And the doctor told me, the neurosurgeon, keep an eye if her foot goes inward. If it goes inward, that means that it has attached again. So we went home and we were doing fine, let's say, until she started potty training. That's when I started noticing that she's having a lot of UTIs and she cannot potty train correctly. But and at the moment I don't know if it's part of being denial. I didn't know that it was part of her condition that this part of her body was going to be affected. So once we start working with her, and I remember even we started going to psychologists because I thought, I don't know why she doesn't want to potty train. And then also she would have problems with her stool and accidents. And she started to go into school and it became kind of a problem until we kind of realized, oh, wait a minute, this is part of, as much as she had the surgery, this is an area that was affected and we need to kind of manage it. And then we kind of changed the whole, I would say, working with her, the strategy of how she can manage on a daily, the whole situation of managing her bladder and her intestine. So that was the first, let's say, potty trained 2.5 years to 3, and then probably until 5 years old. That's what we were kind of managing a lot, working with her and helping her with constipation and how do we manage her UTIs, because she was having a lot of UTIs. So we started doing very small dosage of antibiotics to help her and give her time for her body to develop and see what changes were going to be in her body. So that was kind of the first things that we were working on when she was growing up.
Wow, that's, they don't prepare you because they probably didn't know exactly what it would look like and they don't want you to worry. But at the same time, to have it be a complete shock, there's somewhere about that middle ground with saying this could happen or may not. And it's just hard to know. But 2.5 to 5 are some pretty important developmental years, and, not being able to potty train or seeing other kids your age do it can kind of threaten that self-confidence that preschoolers have. And I know it's been a few years, but can you think about any of the things that really helped her in that phase and coping with having to develop her potty training skills and catheterizations and all of that?
Well, at that point, we were still not doing the catheters. We were focusing on the potty training a lot. And those we went through, and I don't know if this is, and I want to mention it because some parents will go through it. We went through the whole process that, she was doing it purposely. Like I even thought, oh, okay, because when I see her, when I find her with an accident, I'll be like, again, another accident. So we even tried, like she has to wash her underwear because you have to learn, or we did different things. And then I felt so horrible because I remember talking to the psychologist and say, well, we're trying to potty train, and when she gets an accident, she starts laughing. Like, I think she's doing it on purpose. And the psychologist actually said, no, she's reacting that way. It's her nervous mechanism. Right. And that's when it's like, okay, well, and I really felt. And today I even think about it and I feel so bad because I thought it was her. But also that was part of me in denial, that I was not accepting all the different things. So right away, once I realized this is part of her, then I would change the tactic. And we started doing a lot of games. And the games were like, for example, we get home and I needed her to go to the bathroom, and she didn't want to go to the bathroom. So we would say, okay, who's the first one to go and do potty? So she will run with my husband and her to see who will get first. And I'm like, oh, man. And then you won again. I can't believe it. So we started doing games like that. And that's when I noticed that she was more receptive about doing the games and getting kind of engaged versus telling her, okay, I want you to go to the bathroom. So that was one good tactic that helped us.
Oh, okay. I really like that. I know it's funny. Just this morning, and I guess as a child life specialist, I'm always like telling my kids, I'm trying to give them choices of things they can control. So this morning, my son says to me, okay, Mommy, I'm either going to have candy from the Halloween basket or I'm going to get it from the closet. You choose. And I'm like, dang it. It's like the games work so well until they don't. But, and you know what, Teresa, he turned it around, darn it. And, you know, hearing you talk about that guilt that you feel, it's, you know, whether it's potty training or whatever it is, as parents, we all have those moments where it's like, and these strategies that we think are helping, and then we learn better and we change. And I think, you know, we weren't given a handbook on how to handle that or potty training or anything else. So it's just about doing your research, and if something's not working, you try something else and you get help, which is exactly what you did, you know? So, and you can look back and have those feelings of guilt, but the truth is you listened to a professional and you changed it and you did it. And so I think you should be super proud of that.
True. Yeah, that's definitely, definitely a happy, you know, way to see it too of, okay, we did it, we went through it, we work with somebody independent. And that's what I wanted, somebody to actually have different pair of eyes and hear my husband, hear me, and work with my daughter to actually help us navigate through this. Because as much as you said, we don't have a workbook or some guidelines. So that was definitely a good help having the psychologists work with us as a family and independent. It definitely helped us.
Definitely. And so she's ended up having more than that one surgery. Is that right?
Yes. She ended up having a total of 3 unreleased spine cord. So I mean, by the time she was growing up in school, so then she started, and it kind of goes together with the school, is initially she was starting having accidents. And as much as we're doing the potty train, we realized this is kind of becoming more predominant. And she was starting having pain with her leg. So for example, would be like she would stand up for a little bit and she's like, okay, I can't stand that much. Like if we go to Target, you and I can do a Target and grow groceries. She would be able to walk all the Target store to the grocery. Mm-hmm. So by the time she was growing and we noticed that I remember the doctor telling me about her foot going in, that's when I started doing the test and going back. And that's the other part of the frustrating, going to the doctors. And then they're like, well, we don't see anything in the imaging, because when they do the MRI, all is fat in her where it got attached. So it looks like it looks normal. So we had to kind of base it on the clinical side effects, which will be she's constantly constipated, she still has the UTIs, she's having problems with her leg. And then that's when we did it. And I think it was at 8 years old, we did the second one, the second surgery. And the doctor said, oh, yes, it was really attached and it was pulling her. And that's what caused all these, issues. So she's had that one at 8. Then she had another one for her foot reconstruction, because in that one, the leg was bothering her. Her foot was going so inward that she couldn't actually walk that much. She was pretty much relying on the wheelchair, let's say 90% of the time. When it gets to that point, we're like, okay, we have to do something else. And that's when we did her foot reconstruction, which was very painful. And then she had another spine cord attached 2 years ago, because, again, she was having all those side effects. So in total, she's had 4 surgeries.
So you it sounds like you have the surgery and then you get through a little bit of time and then something else comes up and you have to address it. So you just kind of constantly have to keep adapting to this.
Yes, that's the kind of the hard part, because I'm in different groups of other parents that have the same condition, and you hear that they only have 1 surgery or 2, and rarely you hear 3 or even more. And that was kind of hard of, okay, is this normal, not normal? So I have to constantly keep an eye. Like I do videos of her walking. If I see a difference in the foot, then I kind of monitor. I use a lot of medical charts where I can keep track, and then I can, talk and discuss with the doctors. So yes, it's something that I constantly keeping an eye what changes are in her body so we can kind of see what's going on.
Yeah. And just going to Bella a little bit, how does she take all the medical stuff now that she's older and able to ask questions and have some opinions, I'm sure, about things? We'll be right back. One of the things I am asked the most often as a child life specialist, not only by the patients and families that I've worked with, but by my friends, is how can you support and prepare your child for a shot? And as a parent myself, I know sometimes it's so hard to even concentrate on what the doctor is saying because I'm so nervous about my child having to get a shot. And yes, that's even coming from a child life specialist. Thankfully, I can rely on what I know about child development, family-centered care, and trauma-informed care to pull on medical stressors that could come up for my child, and I know how to support them through it. And now we want to give parents those same tools that child life specialists use. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you our new course that's made just for parents. We have worked with instructional designers who are experts in making courses online. We want to put you, the parent, in the driver's seat of these appointments. What we do is we go by age group and tell you exactly what the stressors could be for your child and what the interventions are that a child life specialist would use to help your child through having to get some sort of poke. If you're a parent who wants to walk into your child's medical appointment and instead of feeling overwhelmed with anxiety, you want to feel empowered and know how to prepare and support your child and how to advocate for them, then this is the course for you. This course will only be available for 4 weeks, so go make sure you pre-enroll for the course this fall. Go to childlifeoncall.com/mychildneedsashot. That's childlifeoncall.com/mychildneedsashot.
I think one good thing about the whole thing is since little, we've been dealing with, even drinking medicine and going to the doctor. So it's very normal for her. And I just use imaginary quotations. But there was a time where she did ask me, and I think after the second surgery that she's like, why is this happening to me? What happened? Did you fall down when you had me? Or what? So she was trying to figure out why. And that was kind of a hard part because it kind of explained it to a child about it and how even among the whole condition, we do see a blessing because we even tell her it is a blessing, the fact that you can walk, that you're not affected in this way, and that, yes, you do have this. So that was one time kind of, she was kind of questioning it because it was kind of hard for us to kind of talk about it. And then there was another instance. She's most of the time very positive. She's always smiling. For her, it's normal. But then there was another time where because she was dealing with pain in her leg almost every day. So when I pick her at school, I can see her face that she cannot walk anymore. And there was one time in the car that she was saying, Mom, I can't. And then right away, I go with the whole, but, we're blessed because you are good and, trying to focus on the positives. And soon after that, we have a psychologist appointment where we talked about that. And the psychologist told me, you know what, sometimes you just have to say, what the blank, and just let her wallow in it because it is not all peachy. I mean, you do have to recognize there's some pains and you do have to recognize that it's not fair. And you want to have that, moment of let's just let it go and don't think about anything else. So since that had happened, actually has helped us because when she kind of complains or tells me, Mom, today I don't feel like it, I'll say, okay, that's it. We're not going to do anything. What do you want to do? You want to watch TV? You want to just hang out? And so there's few moments of those, but she does have a couple of like, okay, this is too much. What can we do?
For sure. Yeah, it's like you're validating kind of the feelings that she's expressing to you, and being able to say that to your mom is pretty cool. So she's very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. And I even tell her, don't you want to, because we haven't gone to the therapist, I don't know how many, like probably in the last 2 years. And I asked her, what, do you want to go again? At least you have somebody else to complain. Maybe you want to complain about me. And she's like, no, I want to talk. I feel comfortable talking to you. I'm like, okay, thank God. She's still a teenager and she still wants to talk to me. But I know pretty soon she's going to be, I want to talk to somebody else.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
One thing she does struggle a lot with is what we call the invisible condition. And we call it that because when you see her out and about and in school, you think, she is quote unquote normal. And it was very hard for her because there were days that she couldn't walk and the kids would ask her, or even adults, they're like, well, you just saw her and she's smiling. What do you mean she's in pain? So that's kind of it is very hard for somebody that has a condition that is not visible to others to actually manage. And that's what we see, that with kind of teach her and how to be more outspoken. And I tell her, you have to communicate and say, I'm sorry, guys, I cannot walk right now. I need to take a break, or I need to sit down. And even with adults and teachers, there will be like, but I don't understand. She was walking yesterday. What do you mean she cannot go up the stairs? So that's something else that in her mind, when we talk about it, she says it struggles to communicate how to explain people. They look at me like, what do you mean you're in pain? They see her, just she's fine.
That's an important point because you're right. And we have to find the language to give kids to use so that they do feel equipped when someone comes at them, because it can be really tiring to have to explain yourself over and over and over again. So, giving kids a 1 to 2 sentence phrase, and it can be what they're comfortable with. And I've even had some kids before be like, oh, it's my superhero pouch, or, they get to say what they want and whatever their explanation is and what they feel comfortable with. Some kids feel more comfortable with a medical explanation. Some kids feel more comfortable with an imaginary one. And, it's up to them. It's their life. They get to decide.
True. That's something that actually we did some role playing. And again, it was psychologists that helped us with that. And then we pretend that I'm walking next to her and kind of give her the comment and how she can respond. So it is true. And we let her respond the way she felt comfortable. And even when she was growing and things were changing, we would ask her, what do you feel comfortable to talk about? Can we share about this, or can we share about the other thing? So it is true. We kind of give her back a little bit of power of what to tell people. Just to empower her a little bit and feel comfortable of discussing what she has.
What would you say are some of the positive or unexpected or surprising moments that you guys have gone through as a family?
That's a very good question because, well, as a family, it has made us stronger, that's for sure. Because just with my husband, I consider him my rock, and he says the same about me. I'm the one that I'm doing with the doctors and the visits, and I have all the research, and he's there. And I tell him sometimes, I don't need you to talk. I just need you to be next to me. I need that support. But then he takes care of a lot of the other things. So for us, it has been very, as a family, has been, very close. And also with our extended family, everybody has been supportive. But one thing that it opened my eyes. At the beginning, we used to kind of take all in by ourselves. I didn't talk to people a lot about it. It's kind of hard to talk to people and say, hey, how are you doing? How's your daughter? And I can't say, well, she's doing fine, but she can't do pee-pee today, or she's constipated, or she has pain. So I didn't used to share, all that. And once people find out, because she had a surgery like in school, it really impacted me how people were humble, how helping us, reaching out, and that community and support did make a difference. It kind of opened me that I said, you know what, it is fine to talk about it, and it is good to open up, and there are people that want to help just because they want to help. And so that's one aspect that kind of, opened more my eyes about how there are people out there that they want to help you genuinely.
Definitely. And so you've kind of taken your situation and you've created something, hidden underwear. Could you tell us a little bit about what, specifically inspired that and how you got the motivation to start this project?
Couple of things. One, like I mentioned before, the whole game scenario. I realized pretty soon when I told her I'm not a doctor and I can't do anything, but why don't we focus in the solution rather than the problem? So initially we just did it again as a game. I said, if you can invent a tool right now, just a one, and I am here a princess and we invent the product, what would it be? And that's when we kind of worked with her. And she said, well, what about if we do a bag that attaches with a zipper, and then I have all my things magically there. And that's how it kind of started. And then one day we're like, what if we created a bag or pocket? What would you want to call it? And so it started all about a game, and it would give me a chance to create something to help her. So I did research about finding a bag we started, like, for example, we had 2 lunch bags. So when she go to school, the kids think that she's going to lunch, but actually she was going to the bathroom. But then they start finding out, they're like, why are you going with your lunch to the bathroom? So we're like, okay, check, let's try another one. So it was a way for her to get engaged, but also for me to find a solution because I couldn't find anything. And that's how it kind of started. And we believe me, we did it like for 5 years, because I would be the one buying the underwear and then just cutting and paste and, sewing. Okay, let's do this. There was a lot of fails. Like, there was one time she went and she's like, Mommy, I went to the bathroom and everything fell to the floor. I'm like, okay, we're not trying that one again.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a lot about, the whole game and finding a solution. But when actually to make the decision to do a business, I remember thinking, okay, God, and we're very religious, there has to be a reason or a purpose for this. And I remember kind of going back and forth in my mind. And initially I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to have a platform where I can reach out to other parents, or maybe I get more involved and kind of open my arms and my experience to other parents to help them out. So I was already in that mindset. And then once I had a whole bunch of underwear. I went to Colombia and I had made like 20 just to have for Isabella. And she tried it again in school, and she was the one that came back and said, Mommy, what about if we help other kids? What about if we, give them to other kids? And that's how we kind of, and in the beginning, I kind of entertained it as more as her project. But then once we started doing the research, wait a minute, there's a lot of kids out there with different, not what Isabella has, but different medical conditions that can benefit. And we shared with her urologist, and he said, actually, a lot of boys can benefit for this because boys don't carry purses when they go out. And, their pockets may be small, so this is something that boys can benefit. And that's how pretty much it started. The idea comes to turn to more research and figure out, okay, we're going to do this, how we're going to do it. And that's the kind of the first step.
Wow. And so does Bella actually use the product, and have you seen other kids use it too?
Yes, Isabella does use it. The underwear. Other kids, I get, people have purchased it, and I get a couple of moms that have, reply, and I kind of always try to reach out. Hey, was the product good? Did it work out? So that's good when you hear other moms that are like, we've been trying to look for something. This is great. So that's kind of satisfying. So based on the feedback that I've gotten, yes, other kids have used it. And the good thing is I hear moms writing me, are they going to do this for moms for incontinence? So it's even funny how, because I even suffer for incontinence. So I'm like, yes, I'm looking into that.
Oh, the circle of life.
So yes, she's using it. Yes.
Oh.
So we're working now. She's a teenager, Isabella. So now we're working with the same for teenagers, but some type of protection if they have any, menstruation or anything like that. So now we're working on that. So it has kind of opened the door to other things too.
You know what? That's a whole other can of worms, right? It's one thing to be a child, but it's another thing to be a tween or teenager going through puberty and having to deal with self-cathing and all of that. So if people want to get to your underwear, what is what's the URL that they need to type in, or how can they find you on social media?
We have the website. It's called Hidden Underwear. And there in the website, there's the links to our Instagram and Facebook. And the Instagram and Facebook account is under Hidden Innovations, because that's the name of the company. The idea is to develop other products that can help kids for other medical conditions. So that's why we call it Hidden Innovation.
I love it. That's so cool.
Yes.
Well,
want to be creative about stuff.
Yeah. Would you mind just sharing us, what has Isabella taught you through this experience? And, I always say that like kids are our best teachers, right? Because they should wear their feelings on their sleeves. They tell you like it is. They handle things better than adults. Mm-hmm. What do you think that Isabella has taught you?
Wow, that's a very good question. She has taught me that no matter what you're going through, you can still accomplish, whatever you want. And I relate a lot the fact that she has very good grades. She's in the National Honor Society. And because myself, I'm more focused with her about all the medical treatments that we go every day or every weekly. What medicine are you taking? What's going on that I haven't focused on her studies. My concern was more the health, and she has even taken upon herself to excel in the studies. So that amazes me that somebody or a kid at that age that has to be concerned about pain levels, about medicine, still managed to have good grades. And you always see her with a smile and doing fun stuff. So I complain when I get out of bed and everything hurts. And she just like, going on. So that part is like amazing that, that's what she has taught us a lot about the resilience of, just taking it and move forward, not focusing in that and focusing in, whatever she has to do.
Definitely. And what resources would you share with other parents who are maybe at the beginning stages of getting a spina bifida diagnosis?
That's a tricky one because there's so many things out there. And what I do learn, there's groups on Facebook where they have parents with spina bifida. And then in the case that we go to a specific one that is tethered spinal cord, you can go and reach out to Spina Bifida Association and get information that I think is more with other parents. If you can get on those, let's say, platforms where other parents are sharing, it is good because you can hear what they're all going through, but at the same time, sometimes it's scary because most of the people that post in social media are like the worst case scenario. Right. And the ones that are, or some people don't want to share because, they don't want to be exposed. So we have to take it with a grain of salt. And one thing that I learned is everybody's different. Even in my case with Isabella, I have not found somebody that has the same specific things that Isabella has. Mm-hmm. There's always like something add or something less. So just get information, but go with your mother instinct and you start asking questions with your doctors. Everything was more of instinct of asking questions to go to the Spina Bifida clinic or go to this place or go to the other hospitals. So it's pretty much do research, but take everything with a grain of salt.
I love that. I say that a lot to parents too when pointing out, community groups on Facebook and all that, and just to beware of the type of comments that you may see, worst case scenarios, maybe some bad medical information. And it just makes me so grateful for this podcast because we've had parents go through all different types of situations and scenarios, and parents that we interview and share their story verbally in this podcast forum have a very realistic but positive outlook. And it's a testament to the parents who share just like you. So thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing your story, for creating something for the world that makes a really hard, difficult situation better for kids and being there to support parents. So thank you so much for being here.
I thank you for having me. I do appreciate what you're doing because there's not many platforms out there that share all this, and it's very delicate, like you mentioned, situation, and at least if we could help other parents. I think what you're doing is great. The fact that people can share, and then you can kind of resonate and feel that, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. There's other people also going through this. It definitely makes a difference, especially on those lows. We have a high and lows, so that definitely helps, having podcasts like the one that you have.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be able to do it. And before we started recording, I just want to say real quick that you found the podcast because you typed in Spina Bifida, is that right? And you came across another episode?
Yes, another episode, and it was Abigail. I think it was, and it was amazing, the story, and also that strength that they have, and that belief and faith. And they found out when the baby was actually in the belly, and then now her son was, like, by the time they did the podcast, was running and playing. Yeah. So as much as she was getting all this communication, it turned out he does have some complications, but he has a very beautiful life. So that right away inspired me, like, oh, that was so good, that beautiful story, and it definitely reached out, to my heart, and I was like, oh, I want to be this podcast because I want to, share our story as she did.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and I will link to Hidden Underwear. I will link to Hidden Innovations on Facebook and Instagram, and so you can connect with and follow them and order some underwear if you or your child need it. And we'll be waiting on the incontinence underwear for us mommies.
Yes, for the moms.
Thank you all so much for listening to Child Life on Call. If you head to our website, childlifeoncall.com, you're going to find all sorts of stuff there for parents, professionals, healthcare providers, child life specialists, no matter who you are. Actually, when you just go to our homepage, it'll help you direct to exactly where you need to go. On that, you'll find opportunities and PDUs for child life specialists. Parents, we've got a starter kit for you. And clinicians, we even have a clinician course, which teaches you how to be a confident and capable caregiver in pediatrics. We're so grateful that you're here. Please DM us on Instagram. And like I mentioned, when you rate and review this podcast, it helps other families be able to find us. So let's keep doing that. And I will see you again here next week.